All right, let's dive right in. 10. You question everything. You're in a group chat. Someone shares a fun fact. Everyone reacts with a thumbs up, except you. You open Google. That's not arrogance. That's the curse of a curious mind that refuses to take things at face value. Highly intelligent people are wired to doubt. They live with an inner voice that constantly says, prove it. This skepticism protects you from manipulation, but it can also make you seem cynical or detached. You might sit through conversations where everyone's nodding in agreement while you're quietly thinking, wait, that doesn't add up. And that's exhausting because when your brain is trained to spot inconsistencies, the world becomes a puzzle that never ends. Psychologists call this epistemic curiosity, the hunger for truth, not just information. But here's the twist. Studies show that constantly analyzing everything can hurt social bonding. While others are connecting, your brain is dissecting. So when people say, you think too much, what they really mean is, you're noticing things I'm ignoring. Being smart often feels lonely, not because you dislike people, but because you see too many layers beneath their words. 9. You get bored fast. You start a new job, a new hobby, a new Netflix show, and 2 weeks later, you're done. Not because it's bad, but because your brain already solved it. Smart people have a low tolerance for mental monotony. When something stops challenging you, your mind starts craving novelty, like an addiction. It's the same dopamine rush thrill seekers chase, except your version isn't skydiving. It's diving into new ideas, debates, projects, philosophies. But here's the dark side. That craving makes life unstable. You might jump from passion to passion, job to job, even person to person. Not because you're flaky, but because your brain demands stimulation. Psychologists call it the novelty paradox. The smarter you are, the harder it is to stay entertained by normal life. That's why you tell yourself, I work better under pressure, when really, your brain is addicted to chaos, the thrill of solving problems. Routine feels like slow death. But boredom isn't always the enemy. It's often the soil where creativity grows. The challenge isn't finding more excitement. It's learning to sit in the quiet long enough to let the next great idea bloom. 8. You argue with yourself inside your head. Your mind is a debate stage. 2, 3, maybe 5 voices all dissecting one thought. You come up with a brilliant idea and immediately tear it apart with logic. That's not self-doubt. It's mental cross-examination. Smart people run thought simulations automatically. Before they speak, they've already imagined 5 objections and written the counter-arguments in their head. That's why talking to you sometimes feels like a debate, even when you're just discussing. Philosophers call it dialectical reasoning. Your brain builds and destroys its own ideas to find truth. But it comes at a cost. You rarely feel certain. Because right after every conclusion comes the whisper, but what if you're wrong? It's mentally draining. You crave peace, but you can't silence the courtroom in your mind. Yet that very storm is also your strength. Every great thinker, from Socrates to Einstein, lived inside that same chaos. They just learned how to use it. 7. You feel emotionally out of sync. You walk into a room and instantly sense it. The tension, the fake smiles, the energy shift that nobody else seems to notice. That's not paranoia. That's emotional intelligence turned up to 11. Highly intelligent people often have hypersensitive emotional perception. They can detect micro-expressions, tone changes, and unspoken tension faster than most people can process them. It's a gift and a curse. Because when you sense everything, you feel everything too. That's why social events that others enjoy can leave you drained. While everyone's laughing, you're subconsciously reading their posture, tone, hidden pain. Their anxiety becomes your anxiety. Their stress becomes your stress. By the time you get home, you're mentally exhausted. Not because you dislike people, but because your mind never stopped scanning. And when you finally pull away to recharge, people might say, you're distant. But you're not distant. You're overwhelmed. Ironically, emotional depth doesn't always mean emotional ease. Sometimes the more you understand people, the harder it is to be around them. 6. You struggle to relate. You start explaining an idea, your eyes light up, your brain races, and then you notice blank stares. Everyone else is 2 steps behind. It's not that they're slow, it's that your mind connects dots faster than conversation can keep up. This is called asynchronous communication. Your thought speed and other people's processing speed just don't match, and so you either slow down to fit in or stay silent to avoid the effort. Both options feel like losing a part of yourself. You've probably had moments like this. You're in a group conversation, Someone says something half true or logically weak, and your brain instantly unpacks 10 layers of nuance. But you stop yourself, because explaining it will take too long and probably kill the vibe. Over time, that pattern isolates you. You start feeling like you're too much for most rooms. Albert Camus once said, "Intelligence isolates." And he was right. The smarter you are, the lonelier your world becomes. Not because you don't want connection, but because deep connection requires equal mental bandwidth. But here's the beautiful part. True connection doesn't always come from equal intellect. Sometimes it comes from shared curiosity. People who may not think like you, but think with you. 5. You're obsessed with patterns. You don't just see things, you connect them. A random song lyric reminds you of a childhood conversation that somehow connects to a quote from a book you read 5 years ago. To others, it's random. To you, it's a web. That's not superstition. It's pattern recognition bias, a trait linked to creativity and high intelligence. Your brain constantly searches for structure in chaos. That's why you're good at solving problems, and also why you can't stop solving them. You notice details others miss, the shift in someone's tone, the inconsistency in a story, the motive behind a compliment. It's like your brain has a built-in radar for hidden meaning. But that radar never turns off. So even when life is peaceful, your mind is busy decoding the noise. You see signs where others see coincidences. When someone says, "You're overanalyzing," what they don't realize is, this is how you experience reality. You don't choose to connect dots, you just do. And that ability, historically, is what made visionaries, and sometimes what broke them. Newton saw invisible forces in falling apples. Tesla saw blueprints in lightning. The difference between brilliance and breakdown? Knowing when to stop decoding. 4. You hate small talk. You can do it, the weather, the weekend, someone's dog, but every word feels like sandpaper on your soul. For most people, small talk is comfort. For you, it's static. Because your brain doesn't crave noise, it craves depth. You want to talk about why humans chase validation, what consciousness really means, or how time distorts memory. Not about whose cat went viral on Instagram. That's not arrogance, that's hunger. Your curiosity burns too deep for surface-level chatter. But here's the paradox. Small talk isn't meaningless. It's the bridge to deep talk. It's the handshake before the mind dive. So maybe the goal isn't to avoid small talk, it's to see it differently. Because sometimes that stranger asking how your day was might just be another deep thinker, quietly testing the waters too. 3. You have a dark sense of humor. You laugh at things you probably shouldn't, not because you're cruel, but because your brain processes absurdity faster than your emotions can filter it. Researchers at the University of Vienna discovered something fascinating. People with higher IQs are more likely to enjoy dark humor, jokes about death, irony, and tragedy. Why? Because understanding dark humor requires holding multiple conflicting realities at once. It's mental gymnastics with emotional detachment. While most people cringe, your brain goes, "That's twisted, but clever." You see the contradiction, that life can be both heartbreaking and hilarious. But others might misunderstand. They might call you insensitive. What they don't realize is, you're not laughing at pain, you're laughing through it. That's how many deep thinkers cope. Robin Williams turned suffering into laughter. George Carlin found wit in society's absurdity. Even Stephen Hawking used humor to stay human in the face of impossible odds. Your laughter isn't mockery, it's survival. It's how you remind yourself that even darkness has punchlines. 2. You overthink happiness. Most people chase happiness. You analyze it. You ask, what even is happiness? And then ruin it by dissecting it like a lab experiment. Highly intelligent people often experience existential dissatisfaction, that quiet sense that life's pleasures are fleeting or trivial. You get what you wanted, the promotion, the relationship, the recognition, and 5 minutes later your brain whispers, okay, what's next? That's not ungratefulness. It's awareness turned inward. When your mind constantly zooms out to the cosmic level, everyday joy starts to feel small. It's called the intelligence paradox. The smarter you are, the harder it is to stay happy. Because you see the truth. Everything fades, everything ends. And knowing that makes it hard to stay present. But here's the hopeful part. Meaning doesn't have to come from the universe. It can come from creation. When your brain feels too big for this world, make worlds of your own. Through art, stories, ideas, kindness. Happiness isn't found. It's built. 1. You feel like an outsider, even among people you love. You can be surrounded by friends, laughter, warmth, and still feel slightly apart, as if you're watching life from behind glass. That's not arrogance or coldness, that's awareness fatigue. The weight of seeing too much, too clearly. You notice the little cracks in everything, the fragility of relationships, the shortness of time, the illusions people need just to stay sane. You love deeply, but always with the knowledge that nothing lasts forever. Smart people often carry that invisible distance, an observer energy. You blend in, but never fully belong. You're both participant and narrator, constantly analyzing the moment as you live it. That duality makes joy feel slightly secondhand, but it's also what makes you wise. Because awareness isn't isolation, it's perspective. Kafka felt it. Da Vinci lived it. Every deep thinker walks that quiet edge between connection and solitude. You're not standing outside life, you're seeing all of it. So the next time you feel like an alien in your own world, remember, solitude isn't punishment for intelligence. It's where deep thinkers recharge. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe to see more.